Welcome to my first ever YouTube video for my Blueberry Timmy channel and TikTok and whatever. You're probably watching this video coming from my TikTok, and I just wanted to make this account because it's much easier and acceptable to TikTok to ramble on YouTube, which is usually what I want to do when I come and discover names. I just want to geek out, and while I love making my videos for TikTok and doing these slideshows that are curated in a very certain way, sometimes I just want to ramble about names, and I want to make a separate place for that if people have interest, and you can kind of do that more on YouTube. I also just find that it's easier to just treat YouTube like a personal video blog and pretend as if no one is watching you. But anyways, I want to make my first video about why and how I got into etymology of names. It's very an interesting story. I mean, I'm sure there's no very exciting story behind anyone's interest in etymology, but it kind of began when I first created, well, I've always liked names, as I guess maybe it's a thing that girls do. I'm sure guys do it too. It's always just an interest, you know, this name sounds so pretty, this and that. But it kind of began in two ways. A few years ago, I got really into medieval history and just learning more and more about medieval lifestyles and medieval life and what it was like. And from there, when you kind of dive in and you look in, say, medieval literature, you find these names that are so unlike the names we use. And so I fell quite in love with that, and I just kind of kept that to myself. I had never used TikTok up until about like a year and a half ago, less than that. And it actually began as a joke with my old roommate, and I would just make videos for her, like just back and forth, just funny things. And I guess I kind of just began to explore TikTok, and I found that people just post things they liked that weren't just funny videos or stuff. It was more like niche things. And I guess I'm a Gen Z, and I'm like still, I guess I'm in the older end of Gen Z, I don't know. But in 2013, 2014, 2012, I was using Tumblr. And so I kind of decided to treat TikTok like a Tumblr of things that I just was interested in, and would post things I liked with music that I liked. And I did that with my niche of, well, niche, tons of people love it, of medieval stuff. And I posted a video of medieval names, and people loved it. And genuinely, from there, I was really inspired to kind of look into it more. People seemed very fascinated, and when I looked into it more, the more I genuinely fell in love with it. I came to develop this love for the history that names bring along, how they begun. Well, I actually don't even know much about how names began, apart from a few that really came about in the last few hundred years. But I love seeing how names travel. I love seeing how names reflected culture so much. For example, if you look at like Norse names, a lot of them have descriptive elements of the nature around them, or I should say more like Scandinavian names, compared to names in other places of the world that have, let's say, they have more names about trees compared to places that have more names about snow and ice. I loved how names had so much historical significance to them, and why they repeated throughout the world, and why names died out, and how names transformed into different languages. You know, like most of the names we have that are predominantly used, in at least in the English speaking world, or Western world, come from Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and Germanic. And obviously the originals of those names, like the original form of how they were originally, are not really used anymore. They've been, you know, changed over time. Like look how many variations of Maria there are, apart from Mary and Marie. Apart from those, you have like Marian, you have I'm trying to think of some other, well, you have another one that's like I came across was like Mammy. Mammy came from Maria. Just all these small things that come, and some interesting ones that came about were much more popular in like the 1800s. Were names like Molly and Polly, which somehow come from Maria. They just keep going. So this is where I kind of geek out for something that's seemingly so interesting, but what my whole page is about and what I kind of want to use this channel about is just rantings of things I find interesting. So that is kind of how my love for etymology came about. I love to learn about different cultures, different languages, and history, predominantly history. I love to see that. And it's interesting to see how it all comes about, and that easily translates into word etymology. Like one I came across recently as, Greek. A lot of things come from Greek. Sophia, the name Sophia is so popular, and Sophia directly translates to wisdom. That's where we get philosophy. Philosophy, phil, is one of the 3 ways in Greek to say love, and I mean each different way means a different type of love, but love of love of wisdom is philosophy, and we get named Sophia and Sophie. So there you go.